to be by myself and go out and make videos in the desert and go to these really crazy remote places. And I would seek out places where there wasn't going to be other vans and other people. But when you were out in the desert, a lot of times you'd go to somewhere and there'd be other people out in their vans, and you'd hang out and have beers with people out in the desert and hang out, and then you'd go think of a more remote place. And I started discovering some amazing places like that, you know, the rabbit hole you go down when you know, COVID aside, isolation aside, just going out into the American Southwest in a camper van that's self-sufficient is pretty wild, the stuff that's out there. I mean, I think I probably talked about Chaco Canyon the last time I was here, because I think I'd just gone there in New Mexico, which is, you know, Pueblo Native American ruins of it's essentially like a stone ruins of a city that was built in the year 875, and it's like Machu Picchu level type city that they didn't even discover until the 1950s because it was buried, and now they've, you know, and it's in this beautiful, it's on the Navajo Nation Reserve, you know, on the Navajo land, and you feel this sort of, I felt sort of somewhat shocked, I guess, that there's all this stuff out there that you don't really hear talked about constantly. Like I hear about Machu Picchu, somebody brings that up once a week. Nobody's ever brought up.
Who are you talking to? Brings up Machu Picchu once a week?
I don't know. It just comes up a lot. People talk. It was probably you, I think. You know, you talk the pyramids. And
I rarely talk about
Machu Picchu. You know, talk about the pyramids a lot,
yeah,
right?
I talk about
the pyramids. Like
Machu Picchu is pretty crazy.
Talking about, you know, ancient cultures that have built these incredible structures, right? And right here in New Mexico, just up the road from here, you know, like 11-hour drive from here, right? You know, just outside of Albuquerque, Navajo Nation. There's it's a huge canyon, completely empty, no one there. So it's this realization that there was a civilization there that was, and they've studied this place quite extensively. In fact, Mike Judge, you know, from Beavis and Butthead.
Sure.
His father, Mike Judge, grew up in New Mexico. I found this out after the fact. So I started looking up information about Chaco Canyon to try to learn a bit more about it. And his father, James Judge is his name, was one of the predominant researchers of this particular archaeological site, right?
Oh, wow.
And so he wrote this book about it, and they dived, you know, he spent his life diving into details. Yeah.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, so I spent like, you know, a day there.
And there was no one there with you?
I was there with Charlie, yeah. And
just you and Charlie?
Just me and Charlie, and I shot video. There's video on my YouTube channel too. I was doing all this for my YouTube channel. I was really getting to the filmmaking side of it. You know, I had my drone. I was going out and filming stuff in all these.
Isn't it crazy you're just allowed to walk around there?
Yeah, it's wild. And see that the bottom left? See that sort of structure there? So that was a 5-story building at one point. And you can go walking through there, and there's wood that they've used as beams that's still like within the it's petrified wood or whatever. It's within the stone. And you know, it's wood from the year 875 to 1100. It went, like, the people left there in 1100 because of a drought. Like, they were gone before Columbus, right? See the wood there? That's from between 875 and 1175, whenever that was particularly built. So, and this area, they've done all these studies of this area, so they know, like they found macaw feathers. Speaking of my old pal Rex, they found macaw feathers there. Now, macaws are from the furthest north is Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. So they knew that people were coming from Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, up here to trade with them, and they found evidence of all these different things that sort of indicated that people were coming from as far north as Canada, as far south as South America, to come to this area, and that whole Chaco Canyon area, once you get in there, is like this, I don't know, not to get all like, voodoo about it, but when people talk about Sedona and there's the energy there, you feel this sort of, and it may be just because it's so beautiful and it's so quiet and it's this natural kind of amphitheater where it's silent and the wind is deadened and you're just all alone and you're walking through this structure. I share the fascination that you have for the pyramids. I want to go there someday. I think it would be one of them. If I could snap my fingers right now and just be somewhere, it would be the pyramids. I'd like to go to the pyramids someday. I've never been there. So here's me walking through it with my camera. And so you're walking through this with, by yourself, and
That's
you're just
amazing.
going like, wow, like there was all this stuff going on here. And apparently they've determined this was like a meeting place for people from all over North America that would kind of come here and share information. They actually believe that there was, sort of almost like a festival type atmosphere that would happen there, where people would come and trade and share information and all this stuff.
Are there similar Native American construction sites like this?
Yeah. So then you go down this rabbit hole and you realize that they're all over the place. So then
Really?
there's many of them. There's up in there's these ones called the cliff dwellings, which are that one there is actually this one here is actually later. That's post-Columbian. This was a Spanish. Probably, I think this one's built around 1500. This was
Similar construction
yeah,
style,
exactly.
though.
It's amazing, right? When you look at it, like, oh, they were building stuff in 800 before Europeans had come here using the same kind of building techniques as that. And it's weird when you're there and you're touching it and it's like solid and you're going, wow, that's actually. So they've got these cliff dwellings. There's lots of them where they've built into the cliffs of Colorado. Yeah, those are cliff dwellings. I went to one of those ones. Wow. There's one that's called the Gila. It's a Gila National Forest. It's
New Mexico.
Yeah, it's right on the. Yeah, it's up in the border. It's up in New Mexico, I think. Yeah, and that's a wild story there because it's a national park, and.
Wow, look, they have caves.
So you go walk around there, and that one there were a couple people walking around. They drive down. There's people walking.
Did they dig these caves, or these caves always exist?
They're natural caves that they've kind of sort of utilized as they built the walls up around the bottom of it, and
yeah, they've done something to it, right?
And so this place is wild. This and the stories you pick up when you go to these places, because then you go down the rabbit hole, you start reading about it, and you go, wow, I never knew about this. No American had ever been there until the mid 1800s, because it was Apache territory, and if you went there, the Apache, would kill you before 18 whatever it was. I forget the date, but it was like the 1700s, early 1800s.
Look at the writings.
And this place, I haven't been to this place yet, but I want to go here.
Man.
Yeah. And I talk about, like, when you start thinking about UFOs and stuff, you look at some of these petroglyphs and you go, what's that? There's a lot of petroglyphs out there too. What's that? That looks kind of like a spaceship or something, But so that's honestly the real reason I was out there in the van by myself so long, was because I got addicted to it. I mean, and that's actually kind of why I ended up moving. I was like, I love being out here alone by myself with my van and my camera so much. I want to live in the country again. And
how'd you find the spot in Canada?
Well, I got kind of lucky. I just kind of, I just honestly just started looking on the internet, just like looking at real estate listings, and I started, looking for a farm near my hometown, and I just kept looking and searching every day, and I was lucky that it just kind of fell in my lap right at the right place, right time. My house sold.